everyone, Dave Burns and Nate Ryan here with you. We're going to talk a little Kansas Speedway coming up, the final race in the round of 12. Some will go home and Nate, others will go on. And right now it's a little bit curious because you have the Penske drivers who were so much in the hole, especially after Dover, looking really good. And you have the Hendrick drivers who were looking great, really walking away from Talladega with issues. Talk about this juxtaposition and what it means going into Kansas.
If you're a Penske driver, Dave, you have a Penske driver to thank. I mean, Ryan Blaney winning the race at Talladega really just turned the point situation upside down, where if he finishes second, then there are a lot more guys closer to that cut line, and potentially Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney both being in trouble. Now you have a situation where Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano are all, I mean, Blaney is in for sure, but Keselowski and Logano are comfortably in.
Right.
And then you look at the Hendrick drivers, they're all out. And, a minus 18-point deficit on that cut line.
With one race.
And this is not Talladega, this is not the Roval. Kansas Speedway is very much your prototypical mile-and-a-half track where we know the good teams are going to run well unless they have mechanical failures, unless something fluky happens and there's a crash. I really like Penske's chances now for advancing all three, and sadly, if you're a Hendrick Motorsports fan, I think you have to really hope that one of those guys somehow breaks through for a win, because otherwise I don't know if any of them will advance.
What would the ramifications be for Hendrick Motorsports? Because it's been an interesting season.
It has.
And I see a lot of positives. Jimmy Johnson coming back later, though he didn't make the playoffs. Alex Bowman showing me a lot at Chicagoland and winning, coming back to Kyle Larson. So the performance has definitely gained, but what would the fallout be for HMS?
I think it's still a win on balance for 2019 for this team, Dave, because the future seems in good hands. Like you mentioned, Bowman breaks through, gets his first victory at Chicagoland, almost won Kansas, which probably should give some people some hope, along with Chase Elliott being the defending winner of this race. So his progression was impressive, and certainly William Byron in his second year, it seems like it's only a matter of time before he gets his first win with crew chief Chad Knaus. So I think Hendrick certainly would be very, very disappointed if they don't get a driver into the third round, particularly with the way Chase Elliott won the Roval and the way Bowman has run during the playoffs, top fives at the Roval and Dover. Byron has run well too. So if none of these guys advance, then I think it is a little bit of a black mark. But I think looking toward the future, 2019 has been a good season for Hendrick. And as you mentioned, Jimmy Johnson's showing some signs of life as well. By
the way, don't forget Jimmy Johnson will be on Motor Mouse tomorrow with Kyle and Marty. So make sure you tune in for that. And you might want to call in too, see what the seven-time champ has to say for your question. Let's get back to Penske for a minute now and what we've seen there. Of course, Joey and Brad, perennial favorites to be championship contenders. But now Blaney, he's won 3 times. He's won on 3 different racetracks. And in Victory Lane yesterday, I thought I saw a driver who was starting to fill up with confidence. And I think that's something that driver particularly needs.
Yeah, I think the team needs it too, Dave. I mean, there's been just some problems with finishing races, particularly on super speedway races. I mean, there have been Daytona and Talladega races in the past where it seemed like Ryan Blaney had the best car and he really didn't seal the deal until yesterday. And he did it with virtually no help from teammates and outsmarting a lot of different cars all over the racetrack. So you got to give him a lot of credit for the way he ran those final 2 laps, even though he started in the lead. Is he a championship contender? It's an interesting discussion. I mean, we talked about that here at this desk post-race on our Motor Mouth show with Dale Jarrett and Kyle Petty. And I think KP said it best that it still doesn't feel like Ryan Blaney is ready to win a title, but I still think this is another step for him, that as you say, that he found the confidence that even though Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano have been the lead dogs there, multiple victories for both of those guys this season, this shows that the number 12 team still belongs in that discussion, and a huge feather in the cap of Penske if they can get all 3 drivers in the next round with 8.
And what about for the veterans? Is there enough performance there right now in the 22 and 2 camps?
It still doesn't feel that way to me, Dave. I mean, I still think that, I think maybe one of those drivers gets to the championship round. We know that at Martinsville, Brad Keselowski very, very strong. Joey Logano can win there as well. He did last year. As you said, I mean, those veterans, either of those guys could win anywhere. But I just think if you look at Truex, Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, it's going to be really difficult, I think, to knock one of those 4 out from Miami. So I still feel like those are the favorites going forward.
You just spread this conversation out into the rest of them. 12 drivers going for the 8 positions remaining for the round of 8. That'll all happen at the Kansas Speedway this weekend. We know you'll be watching. We can't wait to bring it to you. And don't forget, Jimmie Johnson on Motor Mouse tomorrow night with Marty and Kyle.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.